Do you see you and David Benevidez fighting?
Yeah. Let's make that fight happen. I'm gonna knock his little punk ass out. I promise that. I put that on everything I love. I give him about 4 rounds, 5 rounds. I knock him out about 5 rounds, 6 rounds, no more. He get hit too much. I'm powerful. I'll explode on him. Trust me. I do my thing. I've been doing this all my life. Put me in there. Put me in there with the bro. I'm a lion, bro. Let's get it.
Recently, Jermall Charlo was on the Last Stand podcast, in which he told Brian Custer he definitely wants the David Benevidez fight. Charlo told David Benevidez, "Let's make the fight happen. I'm going to knock you out inside 4, 5, or 6 rounds. No more." In addition to that, Charlo said that David Benevidez gets hit way too much and that he hits way too powerful for that. He also said that he's a lion, and come September, he will be inside of that lion's den. Now, that's exactly how you put respect on your name. Charlo let the whole boxing world know that he's not a Ryan nor a Tio. He's a lion inside of that squared circle. This was a serious warning, a direct response to David Benevidez, letting him know that the challenge have been accepted. And we could go ahead and get the popcorns ready because this will be fireworks. This is Hagler Hearn. This is our version of Hearn versus Leonard at 168. And now that both fighters agreed to fighting each other next, might as well title this fight Recipe for Greatness, because that's exactly what it is. Which is why I couldn't comprehend the reason Jermall Charlo was not interested in this fight at first. It made no sense at all. Because even though both fighters fight in 2 different divisions, it was Charlo who called out Benevidez last year. Therefore, I knew he wasn't intimidated. And one thing for sure, Charlo is cut from a different cloth than Ryan and Tio. Charlo have always been about that action. 2 things for certain, the same thing happened with J-Rock Williams when he was Charlo mandatory. At the time, Charlo was struggling to make 154, and the fans were accusing him for avoiding the dangerous J-Rock Williams, who was undefeated and haven't lost a round at that point. Charlo chose to defend his title one more time while struggling to make weight to give the fans exactly what they have been asking for, which became Charlo's best performance till this date in a knockout highlight reel. Furthermore, there is no telling why Jermall Charlo wasn't so optimistic about fighting David Benevidez at first. Maybe because he haven't gotten his just due yet, since whoever he fights, leading up to the fight, he's the underdog. After the fight, he supposedly haven't fought anybody and he cherry picks. Or so these Canelo Alvarez fans claim. He can't win for losing. Because when he beat Deryachenko, who was clearly robbed against Gennady Golovkin, truth be told, Deryachenko beat Gennady Golovkin in a more convincing fashion than Canelo Alvarez did. And this is according to Triple G best supporter, Max Kellerman. So I'm pretty sure it's frustrating for Charlo to be the underdog leading up to the Deryachenko fight. Then after the fight, he gets no credit for the fight. So it is possible that Charlo wanted to make sure that the demand was high for the David Benevidez fight, and he possibly didn't comprehend the magnitude of this fight. Nevertheless, now Charlo seems like he sees the bigger picture, because I informed you guys that Charlo was not impressed by David Benevidez's last performance. Matter of fact, he laughed at it. And now you hear Charlo critiquing David Benevidez's performance and claims he will knock him out. On the other hand, David Benevidez let it be known that he will also knock out Charlo in 9 rounds. So this is the recipe of a classic fight. This is a 50-50 fight that the fans have been clamoring for. This is a bigger fight than Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo versus Caleb Plant. The best way to get Canelo attention and force Canelo to pay attention to the fighters that he's paying the witness protection for is to fight each other. Because at the moment in time, Canelo Alvarez is pretending as if David Benevidez, Jermall Charlo, and Andrade do not exist, as he's currently on his Europe tour, in which he's been touring for the past couple years for Europe pound for pound #1 status. So while Canelo fights the likes of Akhi Yildirim, a fighter coming off a loss and 2-year layoff, for the WBC vacant title of David Benevidez, Jermall Charlo is moving up in weight to fight David Benevidez for no title whatsoever. However, the winner of Charlo versus David Benevidez will be the champion of the people and more of a champion than Canelo Alvarez's WBC fake belt. That was given to him after Canelo requested to fight his sparring partner Akhi Yildirim for it. In fact, the WBC should make David Benevidez versus Charlo the interim champion for the WBC and Canelo mandatory right away. That will force Canelo to pay attention to the winner. And if he chooses to continue to avoid either Charlo or David Benevidez, then Canelo and the WBC will be held accountable, since Canelo recently fought his mandatory Akhi Yildirim, a fighter coming off a loss and 2-year layoff. That's why this fight is necessary for both fighters to take in order to move on to the next step. So even though there is no title on the line, what's on the line is more valuable than a title. Is respect, is legacy, is history. It's who's the best of the best, and Canelo won't be able to afford to avoid the winner, because then Canelo legacy will only be remembered for fighting fighters coming off their worst performances, and last but not least, being the pioneer of the NBF witness protection franchise. No black fighters, and when I say no black fighters, I mean undefeated black fighters. Do you guys know the last time Canelo fought an undefeated black fighter? He lost 8 years ago against Floyd Mayweather. After Canelo lost to Floyd, he made sure that was the last time he fights an undefeated black fighter. That's why he continues to pretend as if Charlo and Andrade haven't been champions in or around his divisions since he been pro. For the past 6 years, Charlo and Andrade have been champions in or around Canelo Alvarez's division. Canelo never acknowledged either one at any point in his career. He never even entertained the idea of fighting either one. In fact, is the contrary. He completely ignored both Charlo and Andrade to this day. Even after the Mexican legends, the likes of Morales, Barrera, Marquez, Chavez Sr., Oscar De La Hoya, even Hopkins, they all told Canelo, in order to be a Mexican great, you have to fight your rivals, the likes of Charlo and Andrade. The only way to stamp your legacy is to fight your rivals instead of avoiding them. However, Canelo didn't care. And let me guess, all of the Canelo fanboys are going to claim these legends are hating for wanting to see the best versus the best. I guess Canelo fans want to see Canelo continue to fight the likes of Akhi Yildirim. But when it's time to pay for the fight, Canelo fans want to watch the fights by streaming them illegally, because they don't want to spend their hard-earning money on a cherry pick. Canelo fans, you guys can't have it both ways. This is why Canelo ratings keep flopping, because his own fans are not supporting his cherry picks. At least not with their money. With their mouth, yeah, but not with their money. With the keyboard, yeah, but not with their money. Furthermore, if that's not bad enough, it gets worse. Canelo moves up to 168, and he stated that he no longer is going to fight Mexicans anymore, because he has no intentions of fighting the youngest 168-pounder champion of all time, David Benevidez. See, he had no problem fighting Chavez Jr., even though he was Mexican. But when it comes to an undefeated Mexican fighter that can fight, Canelo strategically waited to fight for David Benevidez' WBC title the moment he lost it on the scale. When it comes to Canelo Alvarez, it's not just NBF, it's also NMF, no Mexican fighters. That's why I'm glad Charlo came to his senses, realizing that this is the only path to a Canelo Alvarez fight. Without them fighting each other, Canelo will continue to ignore both Charlo and David Benevidez. And like Charlo said, he never backs up from any action. He is not a Tio. He is not a Ryan. Put some respect on his name. Respect is earned, not given. And both fighters will earn a lot of respect for fighting each other, win or lose. In a dry year of boxing, this fight will definitely save the year. This is the type of fight that puts boxing on the map. As far as I know, the sooner this fight gets made, the sooner they can have my money. With that being stated, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, subscribe below, and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi TV. Peace, and we on to the next one.